So the first question is, tell me a little bit about your background and where were you raised? So I was born in United Arab Emirates, and my family decided to immigrate to Canada when I was about 8 years old, 9 years old, and that's where I grew up most of my life. My parents come from a Lebanese background, so I'm originally Lebanese. However, never really lived in Lebanon. We've been there for visits, but mostly United Arab Emirates and UAE and Canada is where I was brought up. So, do you have a daily routine and do you think it is important? Yes, I do have a daily routine. I think every person and every child needs to have somewhat of a routine during their day because it gives you more structure, and at the same time, your child will know what to expect throughout their day. And as an adult too, I have a routine to be able to finish and accomplish things that I want to accomplish during my day. If I don't have a routine, I feel like my day is all over the place and I don't accomplish much. So I try as much as possible to follow a routine and to have a routine for my children where they wake up at a specific time and sleep at a specific time. And there's things that we do when we wake up and before we sleep and during dinner time and so on. So we do follow a routine. I'm not saying that it should be a very strict and rigid routine. It needs to have some flexibility, but knowing that your day is structured into different sections will give your child an awareness of what's going to happen next, which would reduce a lot of tantrums and difficult behavior from arising. And at the same time, as an adult, it really helps you stay on track and follow your daily routine and accomplish what you have set as your goals for that day or that week. So the other question is how important it is to trust your intuition in new things that you are going to be encountering. I think it really depends on the situation that we are in. Sometimes fear kicks in and it stops us from accomplishing things that will really bring us joy. And usually a lot of this fear and a negative thinking that is in our minds, it could be things that we were brought up with, thinking that we can't do this or what society feeds us. So sometimes we need to differentiate what kind of feelings we are encountering. Why are we feeling those kind of feelings? So if it is something that we are not believing in ourselves or thinking negative about ourselves, this is when we really need to stop ourselves and empower our own self and tell ourselves that we can do this, that yes, it might sound difficult, it might sound scary, but we need to go ahead with it. However, there are some different situations, for example, meeting people or being in a specific location. And if I do get this feeling that I'm feeling uncomfortable or maybe unsafe, that I listen to my intuition and follow through with that. So I really think it depends on the situation where we're in. What is the thought that you're thinking about? Why are you thinking about that? Why are you feeling that? And then depending on that, I would either act on it or not. So the other question is it important for you to have expectations for yourself, or is it better to just go organically with whatever happens with you? I think to answer that, we need a balance. I think we need to set expectations. We need to have goals and expectations that we want to accomplish and we want to set for ourselves. Yet at the same time, if things don't work out the same exact way we wanted it to work out, then that is okay. I think as long as we have done everything we can to have that expectation met and it didn't happen that way, then we go with the flow. And at the same time, life happens. So things might pop in your way while you have those expectations, and then you're not able to finish or accomplish what you have set, and that is okay. So I don't think it is having one or not. I think having it, but at the same time being open-minded that things might change, things might pop out, and things might not go as we have expected it to go. and that is okay. But having those expectations will let you accomplish things that you have set for yourself. If you don't put any kind of expectations, then you really don't have anything to accomplish. So it is, I think it is important to have set expectations for yourself, for your family, for your children, and then go with the flow and see what happens. The question is, what's the first few weeks of being a mother like? So for me, before I even had children, I was pregnant, I was reading a lot of parenting books. I really wanted to prepare myself mentally for what I am going to be facing and experiencing with a new child in my home. However, having a child is definitely completely different than reading books. And I felt like I wanted to be the best I can be, to do everything the best way I can possibly do it. And that definitely put a lot of stress on me. Now, I did tell myself that I need to take things easy, that I needed to sleep as much as possible. However, I felt like I was not able to ask for help. I felt like I needed to be able to do everything by myself, and that's it. Like, I couldn't ask for help. And of course, being a new mom, not sleeping at night, breastfeeding all the time can be very, very draining. And I felt that I was just really tired, but at the same time, I knew that this will pass. And I knew that I was not going to stay like that forever, that it is just a phase that I need to go through. I was very determined to breastfeed, and I breastfed, and I continued to breastfeed. And I felt like you needed to give yourself breaks and sleep, and at the same time tell yourself that it was not going to last forever, that this is just a phase, and soon my baby is going to grow up and their needs are going to be different. So the question is it important to say no to your child? Yes, definitely it's important to say no. So this is where limits setting is important. We need to know what limits are we setting and why are we setting those limits, and at the same time what limits we should not set. So when we have a clear understanding of what things we want to set a limit on and what things we don't want to set a limit on, and when we need to say no, we actually mean the no and we follow through. That is what it's important. However, if we constantly say no to everything that your child is doing, no, don't touch, no, don't do that, no, don't do that, your child will start to mute that no from your conversations and from the way you communicate with them. So it's very important to, yes, use the no when it's needed and when you have set a limit and you follow through. However, don't use a no if you're not going to follow through. Instead, what you can do is redirect your child by using the words, by telling them what to do instead of what not to do. So, which will minimize the number of times you're going to say no, and that would mean that when you say no, it's actually serious and you mean it. So as I said before, it's so important that when you do say the word no, that you follow through and you know exactly why you're saying no or setting that limit. So the other question is how important it is for you to pray. It is very important for me to pray. It is something that I do every single day. I'm not going to say that I pray extra prayers, but I pray the fara'id, which are the obligatory prayers. And I take them seriously. I don't like missing them, and I want my children to see how important it is for us to make sure that our prayer is part of our daily routine and not to mess it up, not to put it at the bottom of our list, instead to put it at the top of our list by communicating that to them, by role modeling that to them. Also, to go with prayers are what feeds our soul and what connects us with Allah. So if we stop praying, what ends up happening in our life is that we lose that connection and we become lost. And prayer is the only thing for me that I feel reconnects me with Allah and the purpose of my life. And I would definitely feel more at peace when I pray. So what are the difficulties of praying when you have children, and how is it like to pray with children? So I think for me, because I always have had it as my priority, I make sure that I am always on time and I pray my 5 prayers. However, sometimes you get so busy with so many different things, either cooking or reading a book with the kids or just being with the children in general or cleaning the house. And you tell yourself, I'll go pray right now. I'll go pray in like 5 minutes. And then notice that it's an hour later and you haven't prayed yet. So of course there are some times that it's difficult, but what really helps me is that having somebody to remind me. So my husband usually would remind us, did you pray? And he would look at my son and myself, and that would be just a clue for us to go and pray right away. And that's what we usually do, is we stop everything and go and pray. So sometimes I will have, and I do encounter difficulties with praying on time. However, I try my best to stop everything that I'm doing and I go pray right away, because I know that if I don't right now, I will not pray. So the last question is, how do I manage my prayer during my day? So I plan my day around the Salah. So the second I wake up, it is Fajr time. We wake up early at about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And that's when we start our day by prayer. And then lunchtime is usually when I break from working and I pray, and then we have lunch. And then when the children come from home, that's when we all stop and pray Asr. And then right before dinner, it depends if it was winter time or summertime, it would be around dinner time that we all stop and would pray Maghrib. And before I sleep, usually I pray Isha. So my day is designed around Salah. And if we were going out or if we are outside of the house, we try and make sure that we are not out during Salah time, or that we pray before we leave and make sure we are back home before it's the next prayer. So a little bit about me and my background. I am an early childhood educator and I'm doing my PhD right now in curriculum studies in early childhood. I'm also a parenting coach. You can find me on Instagram under Mindful Muslim Mama, or Facebook, which is also Mindful Muslim Mama with Hanaa. And you can also visit my website at www.mindfulmuslimmama.com to learn more about my approach of peaceful parenting from an Islamic perspective.